Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Listen, can I talk to you for a second, Father?
Yes, call me Frank.
Frank, listen.
Yeah.
Come here, you want to hear something? Listen, I got my girlfriend, you know? Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Come here for a sec. Listen, Frank, want to hear something? I got a lot of ideas. You see, like I was reading up about the Pope. Hey, Father.
Yes, you're Frank.
Frank. Yeah, Frank. Okay, Frank. Yeah, listen, Frank, I got a girlfriend, you know? She's Pauline. Her name's Pauline, and
Yeah.
I
What do you mean? Did you get her pregnant?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. She loves the taste of communion wafers. Well, I got a lot of ideas, you know, swimming around in my head, and I was reading a lot of stuff lately. I heard, like, the Pope, he gives special, you know, what is it?
Dispensation?
Yeah. You think the Pope could give Pauline an abortion?
Can he give you a dispensation for an abortion?
Yeah, you think he could do this?
I don't think so, Bobby.
Well, maybe, you know, maybe he could do it for me. Maybe.
I'm sorry, Bobby. I don't think so.
I was just thinking
Did you talk
about
to your priest about it?
Yeah, I talked to everybody about it. And I talked to a lot of people. All right, thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot, all right? If you play, you pay, you know? It's funny, huh?
So that was my introduction to Christianity as a kid. I was 10 years old watching John Travolta, Saturday Night Fever. And that guy, his name in the movie was Bobby C. His real life name is Miller. Pretty good actor. And he's talking to Travolta's brother, who plays a priest, about asking for a special dispensation because he got his girlfriend pregnant. And that was my introduction. And then, of course, I had Italian next-door neighbors, the Iovines. I think I brought up Joseph Iovine 4 of the last 5 shows. His father, Louis, my Aunt Gloria, his sister, Danielle, God rest her soul, his sister, Nicole, God rest her soul, Elizabeth, Joseph's daughter, Joelle, going to get married. We're going to be there in Jersey in 2 weeks. Well, I started to going to, you know, they're very religious, Louis, so we spent Easter with them down in Hallandale, Florida. Went to Doria's. I went to church with them oftentimes, even midnight mass. So I got a pretty good show of what the religion was all about, and I loved it. I thought it was great. But that was my first real intro, that scene from Saturday Night Fever. And Joseph, I know, of course, you're Italian. You grew up in an Italian household on Bedford Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. But for some of us, that was the beginning. Uncle Frank, John Travolta's brother in Saturday Night Fever. How about that, Joe?
That was awesome. Just listening to that was amazing. It brought back memories. That movie was that's where we used to like hang out and get pizza.
Right
when that whole movie took place. And it was just, I mean, I remember watching it for the first time, like feeling awestruck, really awestruck. But yes, it did also delve into Christianity and the faith and the Catholic religion. And, you know, obviously for believers, these to symbolize a lot of great things, a lot of important things, hope.
Yeah.
Death is not the end. Forgiveness, sins can be redeemed.
Yeah.
A new life, spiritual rebirth is possible. So it's really the holiest day of the year for us.
We're coming, believe it or not, Joseph, I don't want you to feel old, but we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Fever. That's coming up in maybe next year, the year after. I'm not sure.
Our 50th anniversary.
I know, me and you, right? We're at 48 years right now. And I don't remember, and I apologize for this, because you're a guy that, you know, you even got bar mitzvah, I think, at one point. You grew up in an Italian household. But I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you went to yeshiva. But I'm pretty sure that you grew up in a pretty religious household. Your mother, Josephine, great lady. Your dad, Cosmo. I think you grew up in a pretty religious household, yes?
Sure. Yes, I was an altar boy. I was an altar boy at one point in church. Maybe the worst altar boy of all time, but I was an altar boy. Yeah. I was supposed to bring what they call the host, which is the body of Christ or the bread. and I brought up the wine by accident, and the priest like, no, you brought the wrong thing. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And I was like,
no.
I know. I said that to the priest, and I was like, oh, this is my last day as an altar boy. I'm going to be the first altar boy ever fired. My parents, Josephine and Cosmo, sitting in the first row, proud as anything, not realizing I brought the wrong thing up there. So it was,
So do you go? So now you're an adult and you're married to lovely Tish. You got 5 children and a couple of grandchildren. Do you go to church today, tomorrow, Sunday? Do all that?
We do. Tonight's Stations of the Cross. Sunday's Easter, so I'll be there tonight. I'll be there Sunday. Tish and I will be obviously with all the kids at church. These 2 days are very important days for us. So yes.
Oh, good for you, man. I love that. I love it, Joseph. I love you very much. You're great. Let me get to some of the stories I want to get to. So I was breaking your balls. I don't know Randy George. I don't know him from a hole in the wall. Of course I don't. And I don't know.
You know him well.
I know you do. So when you say to me you're upset with Pete Hegseth and I go, the guy stunk, I was just breaking your balls. I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, no idea.
Like, come on.
Of course I don't know. Listen, I can tell you this. We did have a fight one time, and I don't care what you tell me, you're wrong about Millie and the rest of these idiots.
I get that.
Yeah.
No, I get that. There's some... listen, as I learned, there's some merit there. I understand that for sure.
Right.
This is different.
Well, what happened here? Well, why did Pete? First of all, why did Donald Trump allow him to do it? But secondly, the president, why did Pete Hegseth fire that guy?
It's a lot to do. I'm going to be blunt with you here, and I get this from our nation's warfighters. A lot has to do with who he wants in place and securing positions for his buddies. This General Lenib, who he shoehorned into the position of Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, replacing General Mingus. Recently, General Lenib is, I don't know him, could be a great guy, but he's not highly regarded by most of the higher-up generals in this Army. And I think he has a very close relationship with Hegseth, and I think Hegseth wants him to become the Chief of Staff of the Army. And the way to do that was get Randy George out of the way. Randy George has a history of being a hero, a war hero. He is someone who, I tell you, I've spent time at his house listening to him break down his ideas and strategy. This guy, I mean, understand this. There's so many reasons why this was wrong, but it was really wrong at this time. Sid, we're in the middle of a war, okay? So we're in the middle of a war, and it's sort of, what Randy George was doing, by the way, let me finish what I was saying. He was leading the Army's major transformation efforts, modernization, force restructuring, tech integration. This guy was like, thinking 20 years ahead. He really was. But removing him midstream sort of delays these reforms, resets priorities, and more importantly, we are in the middle of a war, okay? You don't fire your top general in the middle of a war unless something catastrophically wrong is there. And no one's even saying that. This wasn't strategy. This looks like politics in uniform. And the Army doesn't do that. The strongest military in the world depends on trust. And this decision fractured. I'm telling you, the generals in our Army, I'm talking about the high-ranking generals, are reeling from this, really reeling from this. So if the generals think they serve at some political pleasure, you don't get honesty, you get compliance. And that's not what wins wars. And that's not what a military is supposed to be. So I just I'm really... Honestly, I'm upset for the country. I mean, I know Randy George. I like him. I know his reputation. I don't know him well, but he was someone who had a really great reputation. So what this signals, unfortunately, to a lot of these guys is it's creating this risk of a culture of fear, of yes men, of reduced, candid military advice. And the military is not like any other, part of our government, Sid. It cannot be political. These soldiers, these generals, some of them may agree with Iran, may not agree with Iran going in there, that is. It doesn't matter to them. They're soldiers. Even the generals are soldiers. They're ordered to do something. They will do it. They don't think. They don't get to impose their personal opinions. And that's the way it should be in our military. And what this does is not really support that.
I hear you, and I believe you, and I think you're probably right. I know you would never text President Trump about something like, hey, what the hell is Pete thinking? But
look, President Trump has given him the reins. I don't think President Trump was involved in this decision. I don't think that's no slight to him. It's just that he's got a few things going on, and I think he trusts Hegseth for whatever reason.
Right, and I think you're right. Nepotism certainly played a part here, and 100%. I think you're right. I do want to move over to a story here that I've been yelling about for a couple of days, and I'm not a lawyer, but I'm a common sense guy. Somebody on Twitter actually came at me today. They said, Well, Bo Dietl walks out of his house with a gun. Yeah, he's a former cop. He's not a criminal. So a criminal who's got 21 priors,
right? You have to be licensed to have a gun.
Right. Well,
if you're licensed, I have a gun. I have a gun license, carry permit.
Yeah, but listen, I know people that are not licensed. They're not going to kill anybody. But you show me a criminal with 21 priors, 21, walk out of his house with a loaded weapon. His intent is at some point to use it. So don't tell me that he didn't wake up that morning intending to kill a cop. He's a criminal with priors, with a loaded gun. You bet your ass there was intent involved. That was a ridiculous. Now, again, I do think this guy's going to get the 90 years. I know of the judge. I know of the judge, Michael. I know he's a pretty serious guy. But they blew that call, and what they did to Stephanie Diller, Joseph Tacopina, was unjust and disgusting.
It was. It really, really was. It reinforces this perception we have, particularly in New York City, particularly under this, I don't want to call him the mayor, but the mayor, that reinforces this perception that the system doesn't fully back cops in line of duty killings. You know that, right? I mean, that's the perception amongst the force. It's a blow to the morale for officers who risk their lives daily. If this isn't murder, what is it? Now, listen, you said he woke up that morning with intent to kill. He doesn't even have to wake up that morning with intent to kill. He could have formed that intent literally 1 second before he pulled the trigger. Okay, but the verdict was inconsistent. First of all, let's go bluff, right? Bottom line up front, bluff. He's getting 90. He's going to die in jail. This piece of garbage. He will die in jail. So, for all intents and purposes, the verdict doesn't affect the outcome of how this guy's going to live his life. Okay, it was just a gut punch to these cops who go out there and put their lives on the line. So, the jury found that he intended to seriously harm, but not kill this cop. But yet he intended to kill this cop's partner, Diller's partner. He did intend to kill him, Diller's partner. So therefore, he formed an intent to murder someone, just not the one he murdered. It really, it creates a logical tension in the jury's mind. It really does.
Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.